So we're a little bit closer this time. I think it's mostly due to my internet, so it's a little bit fuzzy. Um, but I think I figured out a way that it can be a little more clear, the book. But I'm going to be reading out the book and everything as well. So it should be good. Okay. So we're doing chapters 9 and 10 today. It's quite. I know the camera's very close, but I thought that it'd help a bit with the words on the page. Where were we up to? I think we were about to do the annotate like the interviews and things. So let's get into that. Right. Let me just pull the book off screen for a second so I can get up to chapter 9. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Okay, I remember where we were up to. Um, the last thing that was said was Hamish shrugs. Peter has asked to be coached separately. So much. Okay. And then we go into Katniss's monologue about that as well. So, and I'm just gonna read it out a bit as well. Hopefully you guys can see that fine. Betrayal. That's the first thing I feel, which is ludicrous. For for there to be betrayal, there would have had to have been trust first between Peter and me, and the trust has been part of the agreement. And trust has not been a part of the agreement, with tributes. But the boy who risked a beating to give me bread, the one who steadied me in the chariot, who covered for me with the red-headed Avox girl, who insisted Hamish know my hunting skills, was there some part of me that couldn't help trusting him? And as soon as I start streaming, my cat wants to leave my room. If you can hear her scratching. Luna! And just let her out quickly. Okay. It's pretty obvious that she couldn't help trusting him. Because he's the boy with the bread. On the other hand, I'm relieved that we can stop the pretense of being friends. Obviously, whatever thin connection we'd foolishly formed, this is so sad. Connection we'd foolishly formed. Has been severed, and high time too. The games begin in 2 days, and trust will only be a weakness. Whatever triggered Peter's decision, and I suspect it had to do with my outperforming him in training, I should be nothing but grateful for it. Maybe he's finally accepted the fact that the sooner we openly acknowledge that we're enemies, the better. That's so sad. Okay. As I've been saying throughout this book, Katniss trust issues Everdeen. I think this highlighter is already starting to run out. That's bad, guys. Like it's because I highlight too many things. Okay. Welcome everyone to the stream. All right. A few people have joined in to the stream, and we're just looking at chapter 9 and 10 at the moment. And I don't know what to write. Katniss Everdeen. This is furthering her trust issues. I think I might have said that at the last page. I've just written down this whole ordeal is making her trust issues worse. Okay, I just gotta quickly go and double check my cat doesn't need anything. Because, of course, she waited until I started live streaming to want something. Felt the need to go outside. All right, so let's just keep highlighting all of the page, I think. That would be a good idea, right? Yes. Okay, so good, I say. So what's the schedule? You'll each have 4 hours with Effie for presentation and 4 with me for content. I'm just highlighting this part because that's a part of how the games and mentoring and things work. Spelled it. Of course I did. How prep for the interviews work. You start with Effie. Katniss? I can't imagine what Effie will have to teach me that could take 4 hours. But she's got me working down to the last minute. Of course she does, if it's Effie. We go to my room and she puts me in a full-length gown and high-heeled shoes. Not the ones I'll be wearing in the actual interview, and instructs me on walking. The shoes are the worst part. I've never worn high heels and can't get used to essentially wobbling around on the balls of my feet. But Effie runs around in them full time, and I'm determined that if she can do it, so can I. The dress poses another problem. This is like Katniss thinking she's above Cap. The dress poses another problem. It keeps tangling around my shoes, so of course I hitch it up. And then Effie swoops down on me like a hawk, smacking my hands and yelling, "Not above the ankle." When I finally conquer walking, there's still sitting posture. Apparently, I have a tendency to duck my head. Eye contact, hand gestures, and smiling. Smiling is mostly about smiling more. Effie makes me say 100 banal phrases, starting with a smile while smiling, ending with a smile. By lunch, the muscles in my cheeks are twitching from overuse. There's just a commenter saying, "Have you read Mockingjay yet? I'm listening to it when I fall asleep at night, and it makes me cry every time." I haven't annotated Mockingjay yet. I actually, fun fact, I have read Mockingjay, but I've read it a lot less times than the first two books in the original trilogy, because I find it really like a really difficult read because it's like the reality of war, right? So it's something that's just really difficult to read. There's also a lot of death in that book. Like, I think worse is Sunrise on the Reaping, though. Now, like, Sunrise on the Reaping is not a book you can reread, it's very difficult. Mockingjay, in comparison, not as bad, surprisingly. Well, that's the best I can do, Effie says with a sigh. Just remember, Katniss, you want the audience to like you. And you don't think they will. There's a lot of people around Katniss who end up saying that people don't like her when in reality people do. It's just when she's being a tryhard and people are making her be a tryhard, um, that she isn't likable because it's forced. She's one of those people that's just honest, even though she has trust issues. Not if you glare at them the entire time. And Cinna points that out later. Janice is likable when she's honest and authentic. Why don't you save that for the arena? Instead, think, oh, hang on, let me start this paragraph again. Not if you glare at them the entire time. Why don't you save that for the arena? Instead, think of it yourself as among friends, says Effie. They're betting on how long I'll live, I burst out. They're not my friends. We'll try and pretend. That's what this is about, snaps Effie. Then she composes herself and beams at me. See, like this. I'm smiling at you even though you're aggravating me. Yes, it feels very convincing, I say. I'm going to eat. I kick off my heels and stomp down to the dining room, hiking my skirt up to my thighs. Fair, Katniss, fair. Peter and Hamish seem in pretty good moods, so I'm thinking the content session should be an improvement over the morning. I couldn't be more wrong. After lunch, Hamish takes me into the sitting room, directs me to the couch, and then frowns at me for a while. What? I finally ask. I'm trying to figure out what to do with you, he says. How we're going to present you. Are we going to be charming, aloof, fierce? So far, you're shining like a star. You volunteered to save your sister. Cinna made you look unforgettable. You've got the top training score. People are intrigued, but no one knows who you are. The impression you make tomorrow will decide exactly what I can get you in terms of sponsors, says Hamish. And here Hamish is actually genuinely like giving advice that he understands. Like he became the rascal in Sunrise on the Reaping. And in becoming the rascal, he's trying to make sure Katniss has a similar impression. But Katniss gets really agitated with him instead. So we see before reading Sunrise on the Reaping, we understand it more as like Haymitch trying to attack Katniss, but he comes at it from like a genuine point of view until eventually Katniss and him butt heads. Having watched the tribute interviews all my life, I know there's truth to what he's saying. If you appeal to the crowd either by humorous or brutal or eccentric, you gain favor. What's Peter's approach? Or am I not allowed to ask? I say. Likeable. He has a sort of self deprecating humor naturally, says Hamish, whereas you open your mouth, you come across more as sullen and hostile. Which is like funny because that's what he forced himself, Hamish forced himself to be like that when genuinely Hamish is a likable person and everyone is drawn to him in Sunrise on the Reaping. I do not, I say. Please, I don't know where you pulled that cheery, wavy girl on the chariot from, but I haven't seen her before or since, says Hamish. And you've given me so many reasons to be cheery, I counter. But you don't have to please me. I'm not going to sponsor you, so pretend I'm the audience, says Hamish. Delight me. He's kind of a mixture. Hamish is kind of a mixture of both of them, really, isn't he? Because he becomes hostile in order to keep the people he cares about alive. Highlighted that one wrong there. People are drawn to Katniss in the same way, but it's like different in the sense that Hamish did not have the same amount of luck that Katniss did. How long is this chapter? I think we're about to get up to the came here with me. Finds. What is a long chapter? Wow, okay. We have a lot of pages left until the end of this chapter. Fine, I snarl. Hamish takes the role of the interviewer, and I try to answer his questions in a winning fashion, but I can't. I'm too angry with Hamish for what he said that I even have to and that I even have to answer the questions. All I can think about is how unjust the whole thing is, the Hunger Games. Candace's real thoughts. Why am I hopping around like some trained dog trying to please people I hate? The longer the interview goes on, the more fury seems to rise to the surface until I'm literally spitting out answers at him. I wonder if Hamish knows that there would have to be some sort of personality underneath all these trust issues with Katniss, because Hamish knows that Burdock and Astrid were both kind people, and that surely that they raised their daughter to be the same. So here, Candace's unfiltered thoughts about the capital is just what I've written. All right, enough, he says. We've got to find another angle. Not only are you hostile, I don't know anything about you. I've asked you 50 questions and still have no sense of your life, your family, what you care about. They want to know about you, Katniss, but I don't want them to. They're already taking my future. They can't have the things that mattered to me in the past, I say. Then lie, make something up, says Hamish. I don't think he ever mentions Lenore Dove. Ever. Once. In the interviews. So he lied, actually, in his interviews. Forgot about that. The thing is, Katniss can't just lie like that. I think Katniss admits the truth in some ways. She doesn't say everything, but she is, in some sense, very authentic. Um, so that's why she can admit the truth, you know? I'm not good at lying, I say. Well, you better learn fast. You've got about a month. See, I'm not good at lying. She can't just not be honest. Well, you better learn fast. You've got about as much charm as a dead slug, says Hamish. Ouch, that hurts. Even Hamish must know he's been too harsh because his voice softens. That is so cute. The real Hamish coming out here. as we know, if you've read Sunrise on the Reaping, Haymitch is playing a very long game about not being his authentic self, and he's become instead like a rascal for the rest of his life. So he's lying about what his true personality is, and he's slowly become that. Here's an idea: try acting humble. Humble, I echo. That you can't believe a little girl from District 12 has done this well. The whole thing's been more than you could ever dreamed of. Talk about Cinna's clothes, how nice the people are, how the city amazes you. If you won't talk about yourself, at least compliment the audience. Just keep turning it back around, alright? Gosh. Which, once again, I don't. I can't remember if he compliments the audience or if he, in being a rascal, teases the audience. I think he teases the audience in Sunrise and the Reaping. The next hours are agonizing. At once, it's clear I cannot gush. We try me playing cocky, but I just don't have the arrogance like Hamish. Apparently, I'm too vulnerable for curiosity. I'm not. Is that how you say that word? I can't. I can never say words I've read out loud. I'm not witty, funny, sexy, or mysterious. That's gross. Ew. Sexy. From a child? From a child. That's just what I'm writing down there. By the end of the session, I'm no one at all. Hamish started drinking somewhere around witty, and a nasty edge has crept into his voice. I give up, sweetheart. Just answer the question. Just answer the questions and try not to let the audience see how openly you despise them. I have dinner that night in my room, ordering an outrageous number of delicacies, eating myself sick, and then taking out my anger at Hamish. The Hunger Games, at every living being in the capital by smashing dishes around my room. When the girl with the red hair comes in to turn down my bed, her eyes widen at the mess. Just leave it, I yell at her. Just leave it alone. I hate her too, with her knowing, reproachful eyes that call me a coward, a monster, a puppet of the capital. Both now and then, for her, justice must finally be happening. At least my death will help pay for the life of the boy in the woods. But instead of fleeing the room, the girl closes the door behind her and goes to the bathroom. She comes back with a damp cloth and wipes my face gently, then cleans the blood from a broken plate off my hands. Why is she doing this? Why am I letting her? I have to highlight this entire paragraph because despite Katniss thinking that everyone is cruel and the world doesn't like her and people tolerate her rather than actually like her, she's proven wrong time and time again. I should have tried to save you, I whispered. She shakes her head. Does this mean we were right to stand by? That she has forgiven me? No, it was wrong, I say. She taps her lips with her fingers, then points to my chest. I think she means that I would have ended up in Avox too. Probably would have, in Avox or dead. Hang on, I want to highlight this part as well down here. Let's read out this paragraph. I spend the next hour helping the red-headed girl clean the room. When all the rubbish has been dropped down a disposal and the food cleaned away, she turns down my bed. I crawl in between the sheets like a 5-year-old and let her tuck me in. Then she goes, I want her to stay until I fall asleep, to be there when I wake up. I want the protection of this girl, even though she never had mine. So I've just written down, even though Candace believes she's unlikable, people simply tolerate her. Time and time again, she's cared for without expectation of return. In the morning, it's not the girl, but my prep team who are hanging over me. My lessons with Effie and Hamish are over. This day belongs to Sinner. He's my last hope. Maybe he can make me look so wonderful that no one will care what comes out of my mouth. The team works on me until late afternoon, turning my skin to glowing satin, stenciling patterns on my arms, painting flame designs on my 20 perfect nails. Then Venia goes to work on my hair, weaving strands of red into a pattern that begins at my left ear, wraps around my head, and then falls in one braid down my right shoulder. They erase my face with a layer of pale makeup and draw my features back out. Huge dark eyes, full red lips, lashes that throw off bits of light when I blink. Finally, they cover my entire body in a powder that makes me shimmer in gold dust. Then Cinna enters with what I assume is my dress, but I can't really see because it's covered. Close your eyes, he orders. I can feel the silken inside as they slip it down over my naked body. Then the weight. It must be 20 kilos. I clutch Octavia's hand as I blindly step into my shoes, glad to find that they are at least 5 centimeters longer than the pair Effie had me practice in. There's some adjusting and fidgeting, then silence. I'm going to highlight how she looks just here. And then she has patterns on her arms and 20 perfect nails with flames. And then there's red strands in her hair in a braid. And move on into her dress. Can I open my eyes? I ask. Yes, says Cinna. Open them. The creature standing before me in the full length mirror has come from another world, where skin shimmers and eyes flash, and apparently they make their clothes from jewels, because my dress, it is entirely covered in reflective, precious gems, red and yellow and white, with bits of blue that accent the tips of the flame. Oh, really good highlighting, guys. This is perfect. The slightest movement gives the impression I'm engulfed in tongues of fire. Cinna, the genius fashion designer. I'm not pretty. I'm not beautiful. I am as radiant as the sun. For a while, we'll just stare at me. Oh, Cinna, I finally whisper, thank you. 12 for me, he says. I hold out my arms and spin a circle. The prep team screams in admiration. Cinna dismisses the team and has me move around the dress and shoes, which are infinitely more manageable than Effie's. The dress hangs in such a way that I don't have to lift the skirt when I walk, leaving me with one less thing to worry about. I wonder if Effie went and was like, she can't lift her skirt. And he like hemmed it or something. So all ready for the interview then? Asked Cinna, and I can see in his expression that he's been talking to Hamish, that he knows how dreadful I am. I'm awful. Hamish called me a dead slug. No matter what we tried, I couldn't do it. I just can't be one of those people he wants me to be, I say. Cinna thinks about this for a moment. Why don't you just be yourself? Myself? That's no good either. Hamish says I'm sullen and hostile, I say. Well, you are around Hamish, says Cinna with a grin. I don't find you so. The prep team adores you. You've even won over the game makers, and as for the citizens of the capital, well, they can't stop talking about you. No one can help but admire your spirit. See, lots of people have different impressions of Katniss. Obviously, you can't have everyone like you. The reason that she's like that around Haymitch is because that she reminds him of himself and the fact that he completely failed at, you know, breaking the arena. So he thinks that Katniss will die too. And then he thinks his best friend's kid is gonna end up dead. So, just like his best friend is dead. I imagine they killed Murdoch because of his association with Katniss. Not Katniss, with Haymitch at some point too. Or something along those lines. I should make a whole video about that, guys. People like Katniss's authenticity. My spirit. This is a new thought. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but it suggests I'm a fighter. In a sort of brave way. It's not as if I'm never friendly. Okay, maybe I don't go around loving everybody I meet. Maybe my smiles are hard to come by, but I do care for some people. Cinna takes my icy hands in his warm ones. Her hands are freezing because she's so anxious. Suppose, when you answer the questions, you think you're addressing a friend back home. Who would your best friend be? Asked Cinna. Gale. Shut up. How gross. Not Gale. Gale, I say instantly. Only it doesn't make sense, Cinna. I would never be telling Gale those things about me. He already knows them. What about me? Could you think of me as a friend? Asked Cinna. That's very cute. I like that he's trying to help her. He has his own goals, ambitions. So in a way, he is using Katniss. A lot of people use Katniss. But you know, it's not all bad, I guess. It's still very cute. I'm just gonna write cute on the side here. That's all that's not right. Okay. Next page. Don't skip a page on accident. Of all the people I've met since I left home, Sinner is by far my favorite. I liked him right off, and he hasn't disappointed me yet. I think so, but I'll be sitting on the main platform with the other stylists. You'll be able to look right at me. When you're asked a question, find me and answer it as honestly as possible. Katniss being honest, encouraged to be honest. She does this. This is also something that is brought up in Mockingjay that we can't force we as in the audience, yes, because we're in the book. The District 13 and the rebellion can't force Katniss to be inauthentic because it doesn't make her as likable as it does when she is authentic. Even what I think is horrible, I ask because it might be really. I'm the same, Katniss. I'm the same. Especially if what you think is horrible, says Cinna. You'll try it. I nod. It's a plan, or at least a straw to grasp at. I've just written down here Katniss being encouraged to be honest works to her but too soon, it's time to go. The interviews take place on a stage constructed in front of the training center. Once I leave my room, it will only be minutes until I'm in front of the crowd. The cameras will pan out. As Cinna turns the doorknob, I stop his hand. Cinna, I'm clearly completely overcome with stage fright. Remember, they already love you, he says gently. Just be yourself. Now I'm just highlighting everything of people telling her to be authentic. We meet up with the rest of District 12 with the District 12 crowd at the elevator. Portia and her gang have been hard at work. Peter looks striking in a black suit with flame accents. While we look good together, it's a relief not to be dressed identically. Hamish and Effie are all fancied up for the occasion. I avoid Hamish, but accept Effie's compliments. Effie can be tiresome and clueless, but she's not destructive like Hamish. Poor Hamish. He is a destructive person. That's why all of it just doesn't work out for him. You know, he destroys the arena and everything. Okay. Where was I? I had a thought a second ago. Oh, who dresses up Hamish? Does he have a stylist? Does Effie tell him to dress up? To look nice? Because I can't imagine Hamish actually cares enough to dress up like that, you know? Just written down who forced Hamish to dress up. Possibly Effie. She kind of keeps them together for the capital, like to be presentable for the capital, all the way from his own games, even though she's completely clueless. When the elevator opens, the other tributes are being lined up to take the stage. All 24 of us sit in a big arc throughout the interviews. This is different from what they show in the movies. They essentially, there's like, I think here is like the interview, and then around the interview, around the stage is like the tributes. So you know in Catching Fire, when after their interviews they end up in an arc, they're in an arc the entire time in the books. I'll be last or second to last, since the girl tribute precedes the boy from each district. How I wish I could be first and get the whole thing out of the way. Now I'll have to listen to how witty, funny, humble, fierce, and charming everybody else is before I go up. Plus, the audience will start to get bored, just as the game makers did, and I can't exactly shoot an arrow into the crowd to get their attention. But you know what? Peter's tactic wouldn't have worked if it weren't for the fact that he was lost. That's a thought. That's food for thought. Right before we parade on the stage, Hamish comes up behind Peter and me and growls, "Remember, you're still a happy pair, so act like it." Katniss is not happy with this because Hamish and Peter know what's coming. Katniss does not. What? I thought we were abandoned. We abandoned that when Peter asked for separate coaching, but I guess that was private, not public thing. Anyway, there's not much chance for interaction now as we walk single file to our seats and take our places. Katniss, clueless. Hamish and Peter, not so clueless. That's literally what I'm gonna write down. Not so clueless as to why they're acting like that. Asked for separate coaching for a reason. Just stepping on the stage makes my breathing rapid and shallow. I can feel my pulse pounding in my temples. It's a relief to get to my chair because between the heels and my legs shaking, I'm afraid I'll trip. Although evening is falling, the city circle is brightest than a summer's day. Brighter than a summer's day. An elevated seating unit has been set up for prestigious guests, with the stylist commanding the front row. The cameras will turn to them when the crowd is reacting to their handiwork. A large balcony off a building to the right has been reserved for the game makers. This is also like what it all looks like. So I kind of want to highlight all of this because this is the setup. Television crews have claimed most of the other balconies. But the city circles and the avenues that feed into it are completely packed with people, standing room only. Oh, they're all standing. That's very interesting. At homes and community halls around the country, every television set is turned on. Every citizen of Pan Am is tuned in. There will be no blackouts tonight. I don't think it's set up in this way in the 50th Hunger Games. To my recollection, I'd have to reread Sunrise on the Reaping to know that for sure. Caesar Flickerman, the man who's hosted the interviews for more than 40 years, becomes bounces onto the stage. It's a little scary because his appearance has been virtually unchanged during all that time. Same face under a coating of pure white makeup. Ew, pure white makeup. What is he, a clown? Same face under a coating of pure white makeup. Same hairstyle that he dyes a different color for each Hunger Games. Same ceremonial suit, midnight blue, dotted with 1,000 tiny electric bulbs that twinkle like stars. They do surgery in the capital to make people appear younger and thinner. In District 12, looking old is something of an achievement since so many people die early. You can see if you see an elderly person, you want to congratulate them on their longevity. Ask the secret of survival. A plump person is envied because they aren't scraping by like the majority of us. But here it is different. Wrinkles aren't desirable. A round belly isn't a sign of success. I need to stop highlighting all of this, guys. How do I stop? It's impossible to stop. I just need to highlight everything. There's still a couple pages left to this chapter. How many pages is chapter 10? Is this when the games start? I mean, sorry, sorry guys. I have an obsession with figuring out how long each chapter is so I know when it's gonna like end and how long it's gonna take me to get through the whole thing. Wow, this is a long chapter. 178. Yeah, they're each like just under 20 pages. This year, Caesar's hair is a powder blue, and his eyelids and lips are coated in the same blue, or in the same hue, not the same blue. I just want to make a comment about looking older as something of an achievement since so many people die early. A stark difference. Stark difference due to class division. He looks freakish but less frightening than he did last year when his color was crimson and he seemed to be bleeding. Caesar tells a few jokes to warm up the audience but then gets down to business. The girl tribute from District 1 looks provocative in a see through gold gown. That is inappropriate. What the hell? Obviously, she's been. The amount of like. The amount of like prostitution in this book and sex trafficking. Once you know what Finnick's fate was, you see it everywhere. Steps up. Okay. The gold tribute from District 1 looks provocative and in a see through golden gown. Steps up to the center of the stage. Join Caesar for her interview. She has been groomed. Glimmer. We know that her name is Glimmer later in the book. I'm just writing down Glimmer has been groomed to be sex trafficked if she is the victor. See-through golden gown. That's crazy. You can tell her mentor didn't have any trouble coming up with an angle for her. See, Candace doesn't see much wrong with this because she herself is a teenager, so she's not realizing that there are adults looking at her like looking at Glimmer inappropriately. With that flowing blonde hair, those emerald green eyes, her body tall and lush, she's sexy all the way. Each interview only lasts 3 minutes. Then a buzzer goes off and the next tribute is up. I'll say this for Caesar. He really does his best to make the tribute shine. He's friendly, tries to set the nervous ones at ease, laughs at lame jokes, and can turn a weak response into a memorable one by the way he reacts. I still like a lady the way Effie showed me. As the districts slip by, 2, 3, 4, everyone seems to be playing up some angle. Moshe's boy from District 2 is a ruthless killing machine. The fox-faced girl from District 5 is sly and elusive. I spotted Sinner as soon as he took his place, but even his presence cannot relax me. 8, 9, 10. The crippled boy from 10 is very quiet. I'm just gonna write down here about this. This ability does not exempt you from the games. My palms are sweating like crazy, but the jewel dress is an absorbent and they skid right off if I try to dry them. 11. Rue, who was dressed in a gossamer gown complete with wings, flutters her way to Caesar. I imagine the stylist for Rue saw her and were like, yes, this is perfect. This is a perfect idea. Make her look like a literal bird. Hush falls over the crowd at the sight of her magical whisper. This magical wisp of a tribute. Caesar's very sweet with her, complimenting her 7 in training. An excellent score for one so small. When he asks her what her greatest strength in the arena will be, she doesn't hesitate. I'm very hard to catch, she says in a tremulous voice. And if they can't catch me, they can't kill me, so don't count me out. I think that's a very good quote there. This quote. I wouldn't in a million years, says Caesar. The boy tribute from District 11, Thresh, has the same dark skin as Rue, but the resemblance stops there. He's one of the giants, probably 6.5 feet tall and built like an ox. But I noticed he rejected the invitations from the queer tributes to join their crowd. So I'm just gonna, what was I saying? I'm gonna highlight what Thresh looks like. The resemblance stops there. He's one of the giants, probably 6.5 feet tall and built like an ox. I think it's a common belief that Thresh is 18 at the time of the games. Instead, he's very solitary, speaking to no one, showing little interest in training. Even so, he scored a 10. And it's not hard to imagine he impressed the game makers. He ignores Caesar's attempts at banter and answers with only a yes or no, or just remains silent. So I'm always checking how many pages I have left. It's a habit I have. If only I was his size, I could get away with sullen and hostile, and just be and it would be just fine. I bet half the sponsors are at least considering him. If I had any money, I'd bet on him myself. And then they call him Katniss Everdeen, and I feel myself as if in a dream, standing and making my way center stage. I shake Caesar's outstretched hand, and he has the good grace not to immediately wipe his off on his suit. Yeah, because that would be horrible. Obviously, her hand is very sweaty. So, Katniss, the capital must be quite a change from District 12. What's impressed you the most since you arrived here? Asked Caesar. What? What did he say? It's as if the words make no sense. My mouth has gone as dry as sawdust. I desperately find Cinna in the crowd and lock eyes with him. I imagine the words coming from his lips. What's impressed you most since you arrived here? I rack my brain for something that made me happy here. Be honest, I think. Be honest. The lamb stew, I get out. Caesar laughs, and I vaguely realize some of the audience has joined in. See, her honesty here is exactly what gets her to be likable. Janice's honesty always works. Next page. Almost done with chapter 9. Getting there, getting there. The one with the dried plums, asked Caesar. I nod. Oh, I eat it by the bucketful. He turns sideways to the audience in horror, hand on his stomach. It doesn't show, does it? They shout reassurances to him and applaud. This is what I mean about Caesar. He tries to help you out. He's not actually helping them out. That's the thing. He is just not. He's trying to help the games be entertaining. That's her biased narration. Caesar isn't helping. He's trying to make the games entertaining, which is what I'm going to write down. He is trying to make the games. Oh, let's see if we can fit entertaining in here. Entertaining. There we go. He's trying to make the games entertaining. Now, Katniss, he says confidentially, when you came out in the opening ceremonies, my heart actually stopped. What did you think of that costume? Cinna raises one eyebrow at me. Be honest. You mean after I got over my fear of being burned alive, I ask. Big laugh. A real one from the audience. Yes, start then, says Caesar. Cinna, my friend. I should tell him anyway. I thought Cinna was brilliant, and it was the most gorgeous costume I'd ever seen, and I couldn't believe I was wearing it. I can't believe I'm wearing this either. I lift up my skirt to spread it out. I mean, look at it. As the audience oohs and ahs, I see Cinna make the tiniest circular motion with his finger, but I know what he's saying. 12 for me. I spin in a circle once, and the reaction is immediate. Oh, do that again, says Caesar. So I lift up my arms and spin around and around, letting the skirt fly out, letting the dress engulf me in flames. The audience breaks into cheers. When I stop, I clutch Caesar's arms. Don't stop, he says. I have to, I'm dizzy. I'm also giggling, which I think I've done maybe never in my lifetime, but the nerves and the spinning have got to me. Right, I like that. That's cute. She's never done that in her lifetime. You're caught up in the moments. Caesar wraps a protective arm around me. Don't worry, I've got you. Can't have you following in your mentor's footsteps. Everyone's hooting at the cameras as the cameras find Hamish, who is by now famous for his head dive at the reaping, and he waves them away good naturally and points back to me. It's all right, Caesar reassures the crowd. She's safe with me. So, how about the training score? 11. Give us a hint what happened in there. I glance at the game makers on the balcony and bite my lip. All I can say is I think it was a first. The cameras are right on the game makers who are chuckling and nodding. You're killing us, says Caesar, if in actual pain. Details, details. I address the balcony. I'm not supposed to talk about it, right? The game maker who fell in the punch bowl shouts out, she's not this here. Plutarch again. I think I'm gonna. I just like Katniss like addressing the crowd. Katniss almost showing up the game makers here as well. Let's continue on. Thank you, I say. Sorry, my lips are sealed. But recovering, from showing up the game makers. Let's go back then to the moment they called your sister's name at the reaping, says Caesar. His mood is quieter now. And you volunteered. Can you tell us about her? I'm just gonna. No, no, not all of you. Maybe Cinna. I don't think I'm imagining the sadness on his face. Her name's Prim. She's just 12, and I love her more than anything. Sad. You can hear a pin drop in the city circle now. What did she say to you after the reaping? Caesar asks. There's definitely prompts that the mentors give Caesar Flickerman, because I now write it down as an annotation for Peter's interview, because it's kind of obvious that he asks specific questions about specific tributes that he might not necessarily know unless a mentor mentioned it to him. Be honest, I saw her hard. She asked me to try really hard to win. Audience is frozen, hanging on my every word. And what did you say? Prompts Caesar gently. But instead of warmth, I feel an icy rigidity take over my body. My muscles tense as they do before a kill. When I speak, my voice seems to have dropped an octave. I swore I would. The buzzer. Oh my god, I skipped a line. I bet you did, says Caesar, giving me a squeeze. The the buzzer goes off. Sorry, we're out of time. Best of luck, Candace Everdeen. Tribute from District 12. The pause continues long after I'm seated. I look to Cinna for reassurance. He gives me a subtle thumbs up. I'm still in a daze for the first part of Peter's interview. He has the audience from the get-go, though. I can hear them laughing and shouting out. He plays up the baker's son thing, comparing the tributes to the breads from their districts. Then he has a funny anecdote about the perils of the capital showers. Tell me, do I smell like roses? He asks Caesar. And then there's a whole run where they take turns sniffing each other that brings down the house. I'm coming back into focus when Caesar asks him if he has a girlfriend back home. Hang on, let me. Okay, I'm going to highlight basically what is happening in Peter's interview. Basically, point out that he's charismatic. We all know he's charismatic. He's the words. And Candace, she has her words, but she has more moments than words to say. Okay. Okay, I can hear them laughing and shouting, even though she's in a daze. The baker's son thing, comparing the tributes to the bread from their districts. There's a funny anecdote about the perils of the capital showers. Tell me. I don't need to reread this again. Okay. My highlighter is running out of ink, and that's telling me that perhaps, or at least it feels like it's running out of ink. It's telling me perhaps that I am highlighting too much. How's one spell charismatic? That's not how you spell charismatic. That's wrong. Don't mind me. Being stupid. Yeah, charismatic as always. Peter hesitates, then gives an unconvincing shake of his head. Handsome lad like you, there must be some special girl. Come on, what's her name? Says Caesar. Peter sighs. Well, there is this one girl I've had a crush on ever since I can remember, but I'm pretty sure she didn't know I was alive until the reaping. What a liar. What a liar. Because he knows that the whole bread situation. Okay. And then Caesar continues prompting him right here. Okay. Caesar continues prompting Peter because Hamish likely told him to do so. Sounds of sympathy from the crowd, unrequited love they can relate to. She have another fellow? Asks Caesar. I don't know, but a lot of boys like her, says Peter. Katniss once again being unaware of how much people like her. All right, I'm just gonna write that down once again. Okay, Katniss once again being unaware of how much people like her. So here's what you do: you win, you go home. She can't turn you down then, says Caesar encouragingly. I don't think it's going to work out. Winning won't help in my case, says Peter. Why ever not? Says Caesar, mystified. Peter blushes beet red and stammers out because she came here with me. Obviously, what an iconic line. All right. Let me just highlight this bit. Because he's like a little teenage boy that's still shy about his crushes, you know. I'm just gonna write down iconic. Full stop. That's it. Iconic line. All right. I think I just kicked my stand on accident. Whoops. Okay. Part 2. The games. Chapter 10. Here we go. New chapter. This has like 17 pages for me to get into, which is great. Okay. I'm just gonna drink some water. Okay, let's go on to Chapter 10. Annotate this. We've done so much. I'm actually really impressed with myself with how much I've gone through. Look at that. Impressive. For a moment, the camera's hold on Peter's downcast eyes as what he says sinks in. Then I can see my face, mouth half open in a mix of surprise and protest, magnified on every screen as I realize me. He means me. I press my lips together and stare at the floor, hoping this will conceal the emotions starting to boil up inside of me. Katniss here is trying to conceal her emotions. She's so clueless, honestly. Katniss, I find, doesn't seem to have like a poker face in any way. Okay. Oh, that is a real piece of bad luck, says Caesar, and there's a real edge of pain in his voice. The crowd is murmuring in agreement. A few have given agonized cries because they're dramatic. Capital, man. It's not good, agrees Peter. Well, I don't think any of us can blame you. It'd be hard not to fall for that young lady, says Caesar. She didn't know? Peter, Peter shakes his head. Not until now. They're so cute. I allow my eyes to flicker up to the screen long enough to see that the blush on my cheeks is unmistakable. Wouldn't you love to pull a back out here and get a response? Caesar asks the audience. The crowd screams assent. Sadly, rules are rules, and Candace Everdeen's time has been spent. Well, best of luck to you, Peter Malark, and I think I speak for all of Panam when I say our hearts with go with yours. I had a thought. Sadly, rules are rules, and Candace Everdeen's time has been spent. See, they're still abiding by the rules here, even though there's been a plot twist. And obviously that changes by the end of the books. Still abiding by the rules. You can probably hear talking in the background. Just ignore that. My family is constantly very loud. They are still abiding by the rules at this point, which changes. The roar of the crowd is deafening. Peter has absolutely wiped the rest of us off the map with the declaration of love for me. When the audience finally settles down, he chokes out a quiet thank you and returns to his seat. We stand for the anthem. I have to raise my head out of the required respect and cannot avoid seeing that every screen is now dominated by a shot of Peter and me, separated by a meter that in the viewers' heads can never be breached. Poor, tragic us. But I know better. Katniss! Come on, dude. After the anthem, the tributes file back into the training center lobby and on to the elevators. I make sure to veer into a car that does not contain Peter. The crowd slows our entourage of stylists and mentors and chaperones, so we have only each other for company. No one speaks. My elevator stops to deposit 4 tributes before I'm alone, then find the doors opening on the 12th floor. Peter has only just stepped from his car when I slam my palms into his chest. Oh, Katniss, violent as always. He loses his balance and crashes into an ugly urn filled with fake flowers. The urn tips and shatters into 100 of tiny pieces. Peter lands in the shards and blood immediately flows from his hands. What was that for? He says, aghast. You really didn't expect that? Really didn't know Candace well enough to know that she'd attack you. You had no right to go say those things about me, I shouted at him. Now the elevator's open and the whole crew is there. Effie, Hamish, Cinna, and Portia. What's going on? Says Effie, a note of hysteria in her voice. Did you fall? After she shoved me, says Peter as Effie and Cinna help him up. The fact that he still likes her after this is so funny. Hamish turns at me. Shoved him? This was your idea, wasn't it? Turning me into some kind of fool in front of the entire country. It was my idea, says Peter, wincing as he pulls spikes of spikes of pottery from his palms. Hamish just helps me with it. Thinking of whether or not I want to highlight this page. Because I'd have to highlight all of it to be like, oh, cute. But it's not really cute. She attacks him. I think here Candace is still very clueless. She's unaware that this isn't a tactic to harm her. Candace is still, where do I say this? Right here. And her trust issues. Candace and her trust issues can't believe that this isn't a tactic to harm her. Yes, Hamish. Yes, Hamish is very helpful to you, I say. You are a fool, Hamish says in disgust. Do you think he hurt you? The boy just gave you something you could never achieve on your own. He made me look weak, I say. He made you look desirable. And let's face it, you can use all the help you can get in that department. You were about as romantic as dirt until he said he wanted you. Now they all do. You're all there talking about the star-crossed lovers from District 12, says Hamish. The thing is, people really liked Katniss, and she probably would have been memorable as soon as she got into the arena. I think Hamish is like really playing up the fact that he's he's probably just scared that he's gonna watch his best friend's daughter die. But we're not star-crossed lovers, I say. Hamish grabs my shoulders and pins me against the wall. Who cares? It's all a big show. It's about how you're perceived. The most I could say about you after your interview was that you were nice enough, although in itself was a small miracle. Now I can say you're a heartbreaker. How the boys back home fall longingly at your feet, which do you think will get you more sponsors? The smell of wine and his breath makes me feel sick. I shove his hands off my shoulders and step away, trying to clear my head. I can't imagine. After reading Sunrise and the Reaping, I can't believe, like, I know how it happened, but I can't believe Hamish has turned into such a horrible person. I know why he's like that, because he pretended to be like that for safety and became that person eventually. But it's crazy. It's still crazy that, like, the kind, loving, caring boy in Sunrise on the Reaping who everyone adores and everyone is drawn to. All of the little kids follow him around. He has his little doves from district, I don't remember which district it was, 9? No. Was it District 9 or District 6? It might have been District 9. Someone remind me, I can't remember. His little doves follow him around. It's so sad that he just became a horrible person. Not really. You can see it a little, like, in bits and pieces, that it's just like he doesn't want anyone to get close to him after, like, past 25 years, but it's crazy. Cinna comes over and puts his arm around me. He's right, Katniss. I don't know what to think. I should have been told so I didn't look so stupid. No, your reaction was perfect. If you'd known, it wouldn't have been read as real. Which is something that they use on both Peter and Katniss throughout the novel series. Katniss needs to remain authentic. She was worried about her boyfriend, says Peter gruffly, tossing away a bloody piece of the urn. Peter, come on. Why are we so jealous of Gale? Gale is not someone you should be jealous of. Gale's such a douchebag. My cheeks burn again at the thought of Gale. I don't have a boyfriend. Well, she knew. She knew that he meant Gale, didn't she? Whatever, says Peter, but I bet he's smart enough to know a bluff when he sees it, besides. You didn't say you loved me, so what does it matter? God. Oh, poor Peter. Feeling like he's already been rejected, which obviously he has been, but he doesn't know the extent of Katniss's feelings, you know? She didn't say it back, so it's not like it had ever happened. I was gonna write something that I just said. I've already forgotten what I just said as well. This is horrible. What have I done? I always forget my train of thought. Hang on, let me reread that. I just said Peter doesn't know Katniss's true feelings about him, so he feels already rejected. Which, like I said, he technically has been rejected by Katniss because she attacked him. It's mostly because she doesn't want to be vulnerable, though. He feels rejected already. The words are sinking in, my anger fading. I'm torn now between thinking I've been used and thinking I've been given an edge. Well, they kind of do that throughout the whole series, don't they? Just using Katniss. Hamish is right. I survived my interview, but what was I really? A silly girl spinning in a sparkling dress, giggling. The only moment of any substance I had was when I talked about Prim. Compare that with Thresh's silent, deadly power, and unforgettable. Silly and sparkly and forgettable. No, not entirely forgettable. I have my 11 in training. Well, she has her skills at least, right? Just writing that down. She has her skills at least. But now Peter has made me an object of love, not just his. To hear him tell it, I have many. To hear him tell it, I have many admirers. And if the audience really thinks we're in love, I remember how strongly they responded to his confession, star-crossed lovers. Hamish is right. They eat that stuff up in the capital. Suddenly, I'm worried that I didn't react properly. How many pages did we decide was in this chapter? 178. Yeah, the same as the last chapter. After he said he loved me, do you think I could be in love with him too? I ask. I did, says Portia. The way you avoided looking at the camera is the blush. The others chime in, agreeing. The thing is, like, obviously, it's true. Like, she has some sort of feelings. She's confused about her feelings at this point for Peter because they have some type of relationship. She just doesn't trust people with her emotions. You're golden, sweetheart. You're going to have sponsors lined up around the block, says Hamish. She relies on a lot of people telling her about her emotions as well. Katniss relies a lot on people telling her how she feels since she's spent so long pushing them away. And then I'm just going to say Katniss at this point is very confused. Katniss at this point is very confused about her feelings for Peter. What was I up to? I'm embarrassed about my reaction. I force myself to acknowledge Peter. I'm sorry I shoved you. Doesn't matter, he shrugs. Although it's technically illegal. Are your hands okay? I ask. They'll be alright, he says. In the silence that follows, delicious smells of our dinner waft in from the dining room. Talking about food again, obviously. Come on, let's eat, says Hamish. We'll follow him to the table and take our places. But then Peter is bleeding too heavily and Portia leads him off for medical treatment. We start the cream and rose petal soup. That's so interesting. Without them. Cream and rose petal soup. I want to try that. That sounds so interesting. I'm just like, I don't even know if I'd like it. I'm curious to know what that would taste like. But by the time we finish, they're back. Peter's hands are wrapped in bandages. I can't help but feeling guilty. Tomorrow we will be in the arena. He has done me a favor, and I've answered with an injury. Will I never stop owing him? Very important. Still, she sees their relationship as transactional. All of a sudden, I can't spell transactional. I hate when I do this. Hang on, I was gonna spell it right. Okay, that's fine. Canna still sees their relationship as transactional. After dinner, we watch the replay in the sitting room. I sing frilly and shallow, twirling and giggling in my dress, although the others assure me I am charming. The thing is, she just thinks very lowly of herself. And this thinks very lowly of herself. Peter actually is charming and then utterly winning as the boy in love. She just thinks highly of Peter. I feel like Katniss has Peter on a pedestal just as much as Peter has Katniss on a pedestal. And there I am, blushing and confused, made beautiful by sinners' hands, desirable by Peter's confession, tragic by circumstance, and by all accounts, unforgettable. Can't believe this highlighter is already running out. I'm gonna lose my mind. How? How is this possible? This highlighter sucks. Do I need 10 highlighters for this book? Okay. When the anthem finishes and the screen goes dark, a hush falls on the room. Tomorrow at dawn, we will be roused and prepared for the arena. The actual games don't start until 10 because so many of the capital residents rise late. That's funny. Do they not have lives or jobs? Surely you still have to have a job in the capital. But Peter and I must make an early start. There is no telling how far we will travel to the arena that has been prepared for this year's games. I know Hamish and Effie will not be going with us. As soon as they leave here, they'll be at the game headquarters, hopefully madly signing up as sponsors, working out a strategy on how and when to deliver the gifts to us. Cinna and Portia will travel with us to the very spot from which we will be launched into the arena. Still, final goodbyes must be said now. Okay. I just want to highlight here once again how the games work. Right. And they'll be at the games headquarters. Okay. Effie takes both of us by the hand and with actual tears in her eyes wishes us well. Thanks us for being the best tribute to it has ever been her it has ever been her privilege to sponsor. And then because it's Effie and she's apparently required by law to say something awful, she adds, I wouldn't be at all surprised if I finally get promoted to a decent district next year. I have speculation that there's a reason she's still in District 12. I do wonder why that is, because she's been in District 12 since she helped her sister Proserpina in Sunrise and the Reaping. So she accidentally fell into being an escort. Then she kisses us on the cheek and hurries out, overcome with either the emotional parting or the possible improvement of her fortunes. Hamish crosses his arms and looks us both over. Any final words of advice? Asked Peter. I find this absolutely hilarious. I just need to highlight this. Someone needs to take this highlighter away from me. I'm highlighting too much. That's why the ink is running out. I'm only on chapter 10. Any final words of advice? Asked Peter. When the gong sounds, get the hell out of there. You're neither of you up to the bloodbath at the cornucopia. Just clear out, put as much distance as you can between yourselves and the others, and find a source of water, he says. Got it? And after that, I ask. Stay alive, says Hamish. It's the same advice he gave us on the train, but he's not drunk and laughing this time, and we only nod. What else is there to say? When I head to my room, Peter lingers to talk to Portia. I'm glad. Whatever strange words of parting we exchange can wait until tomorrow. My covers are drawn back, but there is no sign of the red-headed Avox girl. I wish I knew her name. I should have asked it. She could write it down maybe or act it out, but perhaps that would only result in punishment for her. I take a shower and scrub the gold paint, the makeup, the scent of beauty from my body. All that remains of the design team's efforts are the flames on my nails. I decide to keep them as a reminder of who I am to the audience. Katniss, the girl who was on fire. Obviously, we have to highlight that. Perhaps it will give me something to hold on to in the days to come. I pull on a thick, fleecy nightgown and climb into bed. It takes me about 5 seconds to realize I'll never fall asleep, and I need sleep desperately because in the arena, every moment I give in to fatigue will be an invitation to death. I feel like if I went into the games, I would never sleep. Can you imagine? Like, how do you even sleep when you're like, when you have a target on your back the entire time? It's no good. 1 hour, two, three pass, and my eyelids refuse to get heavy. I can't stop trying to imagine exactly what terrain I'll be thrown into. Desert, swamp, frigid wasteland. Above all, I am hoping for trees, which may afford me some means of concealment and food and shelter. Often there are trees because barren landscapes are dull and the games resolve too quickly without them. But what will the climate be like? What traps have the game makers hidden to liven up the slower moments? And then there are my fellow tributes. There's usually the game makers um, trying to make it entertaining rather than the tributes as well. Like the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is the Capitol trying to kill her, not the tributes. It's just interesting. The more anxious I am to find sleep, the more it eludes me. Finally, I am too restless to stay in bed. I pace the floor, heart beating too fast, breathing too short. My room feels like a prison cell. If I don't get air soon, I'm going to start throwing things again. I run down the hall to the door to the roof. It's not only unlocked but ajar. Perhaps someone forgot to close it, but it doesn't matter. The energy field enclosing the roof prevents any desperate form of escape. And I'm not looking to escape, only to fill my lungs with air. I want to see the sky and the moon on the last night that no one will be hunting me. That's really powerful, that line, I feel. I like that line. The roof is not lit at night, but as soon as my bare feet reach its tiled surface, I see a silhouette, black against the lights, and that shine endlessly in the Capitol. There's quite a commotion going down, going on down in the streets. Music and singing and car horns, none of which I can hear through the thick glass window panes in my room. I could slip away now without him noticing me. He wouldn't me hear. He wouldn't. He wouldn't hear me over the din. Yeah, me stumbling over my words. But the night air is so sweet, I can't bear to returning to the stuffy cage of my room. And what difference does it make whether we speak or not? My feet move soundlessly across the tiles. I'm only a meter behind him when I say, You should be getting some sleep. He starts but doesn't turn. I could see him. I can see him give. Wow. Okay. I'm reading this really, guys. I'm so sorry. I can see him give his head a slight shake. I didn't want to miss the party. It's for us, after all. I come up beside him and lean over the edge of the rail. The wide streets are full of dancing people. I squint to make out their tiny figures in more detail. Are they in costume? Who could tell? Peter answers, with all the crazy clothes they wear here. Couldn't sleep either. Couldn't turn my mind off, I say. Thinking about your family, he asks. No, I admit a bit guiltily. All I can do is wonder about tomorrow. Which is pointless, of course. In the light from below, I can see his face now, the awkward way he holds his bandaged hands. I really am sorry about your hands. It doesn't matter, Katniss, he says. I've never been a contender in these games anyway. That's no way to be thinking, I say. Why not? It's true. My best hope is to not disgrace myself, and he hesitates. And what? I don't know how to say it exactly, only I want to die as myself. Does that make any sense? He asks. I shake my head, but how could he die as anyone but himself? I don't want them to change me in there, turn me into some kind of monster that I'm not. I love this entire paragraph. Yeah, I'm gonna highlight the whole thing. And what about it? Are you guys gonna protest or something? No, didn't think so. I love this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes. Is that Peter doesn't discuss his political views quite as much as Katniss does, mostly because we don't hear his inner monologue in the same way we do with Katniss. But the only difference here is that like Peter was grown has grown up in the merchant area where rebellion isn't as big as it is in the seam. You know, like people in the seam, they're poorer, they have to go outside the district to hunt like Katniss. There are particular people in the scene. They have the hob, which is the black market. The merchant people don't do that in the same way that the seam does. So Peter holds his political values inside his own mind and doesn't expresses them in a way that is, I don't know, like, what's the word? Like, he uses his charisma to his advantage to manipulate people, like in the capital, to see his point of view rather than in the same way that Candace does. She just comes outright with her opinion, and people agree with it because before they might have been too scared to express their opinion or what have you. But Peter will use his words in a way to describe his opinions in a different way to Katniss. Katniss's are more actions. Peter has more words for his political values. So Peter expresses his political values in his expression of self and identity. And continuing on, I bite my lip, feeling inferior. Katniss not thinking about that at all. She's just thinking about Prim, which is valid. They're just expressing themselves in different ways. Katniss is in survival mode instead. Because she's trying to get out of these games for Prim. Peter, on the other hand, is not. I think this conversation is really important because it shows like a very clear difference between Katniss and Peeta. Written down here is just Katniss is in survival mode, whereas Peeta is not. This conversation shows a clear difference of how the two express themselves. I bite my lip, feeling inferior. While I've been ruminating on the availability of trees, Peeta has been struggling with how to maintain his identity, his purity of self. Do you mean you won't kill anyone? I ask. No, when the time comes, I'm sure I'll kill just like everybody else. I can't go down without a fight. Only I keep wishing I could think of a way to show the capital they don't own me, that I'm more than just a piece in their games. It's also a very important line. But you're not, I say. None of us are. That's how the games work. Yeah, Peter is over here, like, really discussing more in depth topics than Candace is. Once again, still in survival mode. Candace is, Peter. Peter is not in survival mode, allowing him more space to think deeply. Okay, but within that framework, there's still you, there's still me, he insists. Don't you see? A little only, no offense, but who cares, Peter? Katniss! Katniss. I'm disappointed. I'm real disappointed. I mean, what else am I allowed to care about at this point? He asks angrily. He's locked those blue eyes on mine now, demanding an answer. Jeez, scary. I take a step back. Care about what Hamish said about staying alive. Peter smiles at me, sad and mocking. Okay, thanks for the tip, sweetheart. The thing is that as much as they don't understand where the word sweetheart came from, being meaning that Luella is Hamish's sweetheart and he means it in an endearing way, in a loving way. Um, Peter is kind of using the word sweetheart, like he's mocking Katniss, but he's using it in a way that's loving as well because he loves Katniss. He's in love with Katniss, so Mocking her, yes, but is still using the word using sweetheart lovingly. It's like a slap in the face. His use of Hamish is patronizing endearment, but he is not. It's just Candace's perception. Look, if you want to spend the last hours of your life planning some noble death in the arena, that's your choice. I want to spend mine in District 12. Okay. Candace, I don't think you're realizing there's a difference in opinions here. Instead of getting into an argument with someone. Candace's biased narration. Wouldn't surprise me if you do. So that's says Peter, give your mother my best when give my mother my best when you make it back, will you? God, poor Peter. Poor Peter. Poor Peter. I do like that they get into an argument here though, because well, obviously, like they have differing standpoints, even though Peter is obviously trying to make sure Katniss gets back alive. He where was I going with that? Even though Peter's making sure Katniss, he's trying to get Katniss back alive to District 12, he's still gonna like nip back at it because he has a differing opinion. They get, but also like he kind of gets exhausted of Katniss and her trust issues, and he's like just rolling his eyes at her, and Katniss is getting agitated, and we have a biased narration from Katniss as well. Count on it, I say. Then I turn and leave the roof. How many pages left? I spend the rest of the night slipping in and out of a doze, imagining the cutting remarks I will make to Peter Malark in the morning. Oh, full name. Peter Malark. We will see how high and mighty he is when he's faced with life and death. He'll probably turn into one of those raging beast tributes, the one who tries to eat someone's heart after they've killed them. There was one guy like that a few years ago from District 6 called Titus. I just want to highlight this because it's an example of cannibalism in um, the Hunger Games and the capital, as we know from the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the capital civilians are very much against cannibalism because that's what the Dark Days were like, and they resorted to cannibalism. But despite there being poverty and all the extreme poverty in the districts, they never resorted to cannibalism, except, of course, Titus. Like the capital's influence makes them become cannibals. He went completely savage, and the game makers had to have him stunned with electric guns to collect the bodies of the players he'd killed before he ate them. I'm just writing here. The influence of the capital's inhumanity turns the districts to cannibalism. There are no rules in the arena, but cannibalism doesn't play well with the capital audience because of the Dark Days. So they tried to head it off. There was some speculation that the avalanche that finally took Titus out was specifically engineered to ensure the victor was not a lunatic. I don't see Peter in the morning. Actually, I'm gonna highlight the rest of that. Look, yeah, my highlighter is running out of ink. But the thing is, I need to highlight the entirety of every single page in this book because it's all important, okay? Leave me alone. I don't see Peter in the morning. Cinna comes to me before dawn, giving me a simple shift to wear and guides me to the roof. Good thing they had that conversation last night, right? My final dressing and preparations will be done in the catacombs under the arena itself. A hovercraft appears out of thin air, just like the one that did in the woods the day I saw the red-headed Avox girl captured, and a ladder drops down. Once again, how the games work. This is important because comparing it to other books, it works completely different. I think they're escorted into like these tunnels, and I think the tunnels are the same in the capital, in the 50th Hunger Games, but they don't have an escort necessarily. I think Effie in the 50th Hunger Games comes running and it's like, I didn't know it was my job, whatever. Yeah. If you've read Sunrise on the Reaper, you know what I'm talking about. I place my hands on the lower rungs and they freeze her. Let me read the rest of that out. A hovercraft appears out of thin air, just like the one that it did in the woods the day I saw the red-headed Avox girl captured. And a ladder drops down. I place my hands and feet on the lower rungs, and instantly it's as if I'm frozen. Some sort of current glues me to the ladder while I'm lifted safely inside. I expect the ladder to release me then, but I'm still stuck when a woman in a white coat approaches me carrying a syringe. This is just your tracker, Katniss. The stiller you are, the more efficiently I can place it, she says. Almost done with this chapter. Still, I'm a statue. But that doesn't prevent me from feeling the sharp stab of pain as the needle inserts the metal tracking device deep under the skin on the inside of my forearm. Now the game makers will be able to trace my whereabouts in the arena. Wouldn't want to lose a tribute. Wonder if that's happened in the past. Losing a tribute. Oh, I mean, in the 10th Hunger Games, it kind of did. Like, but at that point, the games hadn't actually officially started. So, a tracker wouldn't have helped them in the situation where the 10th Hunger Games tributes escaped the arena. Just written down what other times did tributes escape. As soon as the tracker is in place, the ladder releases me. The woman disappears and Cinna is retrieved from the roof. An Avox boy comes in and dissects us directs us, dissects us, directs us to a room where breakfast has been laid out. Despite the tension in my stomach, I eat as much as I can, although none of the delectable food makes any impression on me. More food, more discussions of food, except she doesn't describe it to us. It's always discussions of food in this book. Obviously, it's called The Hunger Games. I'm so nervous I could be eating coal dust. The one thing that distracts me at all is the view from the window as we sail over the city, then to the wilderness beyond. This is what birds see, only they're free and safe, the very opposite of me. Comparison to birds here, interestingly enough, that birds are free. Birds as a metaphor for freedom. Right, birds as a metaphor for freedom. The ride lasts about half an hour before the windows black out, suggesting that we're nearing the arena. The hovercraft lands, and Sinner and I go back to the ladder, only this time it leads down to a tube underground. I just gotta highlight everything. This is how the games work, guys. Leave me alone. Into the catacombs that lie beneath the arena. We follow instructions to my destination, a chamber for my preparation. In the capital, they call it the launch room. In the districts, it's referred to as the stockyard, the place animals go before slaughter. I'm just gonna say how the difference with comparing to animals is different from like Sunrise and the Reaping and Songbirds and Snakes. Here, the capital finds comparisons to animals distasteful, but the districts do. What I've written down. Everything is brand new. I will be the first and only tribute to use this launch room. The arenas are historical sites, which is disgusting. Historic sites preserved after the games. They actually dismantle these arenas at the end of the rebellion. Popular destinations for capital residents to visit to vacation, which is so gross. So they're technically allowed outside of the what was I gonna say? Outside of the capital-ish. Like I'm sure this is outside of the main area of the capital. But after the dark days, like we know from Songbirds and Snakes that the capital civilians would go on holidays in places in the districts. There's one person whose family, I don't remember her name, but her family is a part of the exports of District 10, and she would often go to District 10 for holidaying. But there is a point in time where they're all herded back into the capital, so they lack freedom as well. But giving them the option to holiday in the arenas is it's like their only access to escaping the capital in that sense. So yes, it's a luxury. It's a disgusting luxury that the capital uses where people and children were murdered. However, it is their only access to escape the capital in a sense. Go for a month through, watch the games, tour the catacombs, visit the sites where the deaths took place. You can even take part in reenactments. So gross. Okay, my pen is fully running out of ink now. I'm gonna have to go and get another one. They say the food is excellent. That's so funny. Okay. I'm just highlighting things at this point. I'm really struggling with this pen, guys. Okay, we have like 3 pages left after this. I struggle to keep my breakfast down as I shower and clean my teeth. How does she know they say the food is excellent? How does she know that? They broadcast it or something? How does she know this? This occurred to me. How does she know all this? Susan Collins in her exposition, that doesn't make sense. I struggle to keep my breakfast down as I shower and clean my teeth. Santa does my hair in my simple trademark braid down my back. Then the clothes arrive, the same for every tribute. Cinna has had no say in my outfit, but does not even know what will be in the package, but he helps me dress in the garments. Simple tawny trousers, light green blouse, which is not what they show in the movie, sturdy brown belt, and a thin hooded black jacket that falls to my thighs. The material in the jacket's designed to reflect body heat. Expect some cool nights, he says. The boots worn over skin-tight socks are better than I could have hoped for. Soft leather, not unlike my ones at home. These have narrow, flexible rubber sole with tread. What? These have a narrow, flexible rubber sole with treads, though good for running. I think I'm finished when Cinna pulls the gold Mockingjay pin from its pocket. I had completely forgotten about it. It's where the pin becomes an icon. Where did you get that? I asked. The green outfit you wore on. Okay, where did you get that? I ask. Off the green outfit you wore on the train, he says. Remember now taking it off my mother's dress, pinning it to the shirt. It's your district token, right? I nod, and he fastens it onto my shirt. It barely cleared the review board. Some thought the pin could be used as a weapon, giving you an unfair advantage, but eventually they let it through, says Cinna. They eliminated a ring from the District 1 girl, though. If you twisted the gemstone, a spike popped out, a poisoned one. She claimed she had no knowledge the ring transformed, and there was no way to prove she did, but she lost her token. There, you're all set. Move around, make sure everything feels comfortable. I walk, run in a circle, swing my arms about. Yes, it's fine. Fits perfectly. Then there's nothing to do but wait for the call, says Cinna. Unless you think you could eat anymore. I turn down food, but I accept a glass of water that I take tiny sips of as we wait on the couch. I don't want to chew on my nails or my lips, so I find myself gnawing on the inside of my cheek. It still hasn't fully healed from a few days ago. Soon the taste of blood fills my mouth. Nervousness seeps into terror as I anticipate what is to come. I could be dead, flat out dead, in an hour. Or less. My fingers obsessively trace the hard little lump on my forearm where the woman injected the tracking device. I press on it even though it hurts. I press on it so hard a small bruise begins to form. Do you want to talk, Katniss? Cinna asks. I shake my head, but after a moment hold out my hand to him. Cinna encloses it in both of his. And this is how we sit until a pleasant female voice announces it's time to prepare for launch. Still clenching one of Cinna's hand, I walk over and stand on the circular metal plate. Remember what Hamish said. Run, find water, the rest will follow, he says. I nod. And then remember this. I'm not allowed to bet, but if I could, my money would be on you. I like this quote. Love this. Love Cinna and Katniss's relationship. I've just written down love Cinna and Katniss's relationship. Truly, I whisper. Truly, says Cinna. He leans down and kisses me on the forehead. Good luck, girl on fire. And then a glass cylinder is lowering around me, breaking our handhold, cutting him off from me. He taps his fingers under his chin, head high. I lift my chin and stand as straight as I can. The cylinder begins to rise. This is how it all works. I'm just gonna. For maybe 15 seconds, I'm in darkness, and then I can feel the metal plate pushing me out of the cylinder. Into the open air. So this is just how they put the tributes into the arena. I'm sick of this highlighter running out, I swear. It's driving me insane. I highlight too much stuff, clearly. For a moment, my eyes are dazzled by the bright sunlight, and I'm conscious only of a strong wind with the hopeful smell of pine trees. Then I hear the legendary announcer, Claudius Templesmith, and his voice booms all around me. I'm just taking note of this guy being the announcer. Ladies and gentlemen, let the 74th Hunger Games begin. Okay, so that is it for today's live stream. My highlighter is already out of ink, and we're not even halfway through the novel. So maybe I need to endeavor to highlight less things. So next live stream is going to be chapters 11 and 12, and I'm actually going to be live streaming earlier because I have stuff to do later in the afternoon when I have been streaming lately. So you'll see it scheduled on my channel the night before when exactly I'm going to be live streaming. It'll likely be 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So watch out for that on my channel. I'm also going to be uploading tomorrow a new video called Who Are Lenore Dove's Parents, if you guys are interested as well. But yeah, that is it for today's live stream. Hopefully you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you did enjoy this, and stay tuned for my future live streams as we finish the first novel of The Hunger Games and annotating that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this live stream.